Hello and welcome to So Darn Fun. I'm Carrie and this is a channel that focuses on quality clothing alterations, pattern reviews, and useful sewing how-tos. Today we're going to do a European hem on this pair of jeans, but not just any European hem. This just might be one like you have never seen before. What is a European hem, you ask? Sometimes people use the term original hem. It's synonymous with European hem. And what is it? It is when you actually cut off the original hem, kind of as the name states, and you literally move it up and just sew it back on. But usually it's detectable from the inside because you can see where it's serged. There might be cases where you don't really want that showing. In this case, this is a pair of pants for a little girl who's starting school, and I just know sometimes how kids can be, and I just want her jeans to look like nothing's been done to them. So join me at the table while we walk step by step how to do this kind of hem. First of all, before you embark on doing this kind of hem, you need to make sure that you have a top stitching thread that's going to match this right here, and I've got it, so I'm in luck and I can continue on. A little hint that if you don't know, if you do not have an actual top stitching thread, you can use two of a regular thread that's in the color that you need, and that's kind of a way to get around actually needing a top stitching thread. So this is going to be a little bit different from other ways that I've seen the European hem done, in that I am going to go ahead and pluck out this top stitching before I get started. And the reason is because I'm going to use just like threads width to this upper side of where that top stitching is to attach the hem. But you see on the underside, the little lip of the hem is in the way and I can't stitch when that's there. So I need to open it up. You'll see that it'll make sense as we continue. So let's just pluck that out real quick. I don't have any shortcut methods for plucking it out. Some people like to use a razor blade. I don't trust my hands. I feel a little clumsy. So for me, that's not really the best option all the time. Some people use razor blades in the seam line here. I prefer a seam ripper because I feel that I have a little bit more control. That's just me. My seam ripper is actually dull, so I'm going to go get another one. This is a different kind of seam ripper. Sometimes I find it more useful. That took me how many minutes? I'll put it on the screen here, how many minutes that took me. So if we have a lot of fraying here, make sure it doesn't come unattached. So we're just gonna, I guess it doesn't matter if we pick those out. She needs these 3 1/4 inches shorter. So what I need to do is I'm going to take the top of where, this dark line where the stitching was. And I am going to place it 3 1/4 inches up here. So let me go ahead and measure that and mark it off with a chalk. Okay, so remember we are measuring from pretty much the stitching line, maybe just a little bit north of the stitching line, like 2 threads worth, if even that. So I'm just going to actually say 3 1/4 and call it good. Don't worry about how much hem there is. That doesn't even matter at this point. All we know is that if we take out 3 1/4 of this part here, then the hem is going to lie where it needs to lie for her. I'm just going to fold this flat because it'll be easier for me to measure at the moment. Okay. 1, 2, 3 1/4. I have a sharp chalk so I can get a nice accurate line. 3 1/4. Let's turn the pants over and do the other side here. There There we are. Now, one thing I want to mention, if you're doing a pair of jeans and they either taper out this way or taper in this way, you might have some consistency issues with folding this up. This part might be either too narrow or too wide, and in that case you'll have to go into the side seam of the jean or the part down here, whichever seems to make sense to you, and either let it out or take it in so that when you fold this up, everything's going to fit correctly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold up this here. I'm going to grab some pins. And first off, I'm going to make sure that the side seam here is exactly right on. And then I want to take the line where I saw the old stitching was at, and I'm going to place it right on my chalk line, as close as I can get it. And then put a pin there right on the stitching line. You can really, really easily see the stitching line from the inside. It's really quite evident. And I have my seams off just a tiny bit. I want them to be as equal as possible. There, that's right on. So I'm just going to work my way around and pinning on that stitching line on my chalk line. In this way, I'll be able to tell if there's any inconsistencies in the width of the pants, then I'll have to figure out what my plan of attack will be. So let's just see how this pans out. Actually, that looks like it's fitting really well. This seam is super, super thick. So I'm not going to pin on the actual side seam. Very, very thick. Let's see if this is the same. Okay, it should be. Okay, that's going to work great. Now that that is all pinned right on the chalk line, I'm going to take this to my machine and I am going to stitch just to the right side, barely to the right side of where this original stitching was plucked out at. So let's go to the machine. I'm actually going to take a few minutes just to pluck out some of this extra stuff so it doesn't get caught in my final stitching and be stuck there forever. So I could have done this earlier, but I just didn't. Okay, so I'm going to put my needle in just to the right of that original stitching line. So here's the leg we just sewed. Okay, so here's what it looks like from the outside. We just sewed this on. And here's the flap on the inside. There's our stitching line. Now typically in a European hem, this would be serged off and just sort of left. The hem would be folded up, would be like that, and you would see the serged edging. We are going to trim this off and turn this edge down into the hem. So let us trim this off. I'm trimming this about 1/4 of an inch away from where I stitched. Now we're going to press it down this way with the hem over the top. So So when we get to really thick parts like this, that's a lot of layers. I might have to hammer that with a hammer, which will help crush the fibers and make it easier to stitch down. That's super thick right there. I've not found a machine yet that actually likes that. I'm gonna turn this inside out and work from the inside. I think that'll just be less awkward. And I'm gonna grab my sleeve board here. This might make it more manageable, even though I could do it the other way. It will probably make it easier to show. Okay, so now I can fold this out. Okay. Let's start pressing that. From the outside, it looks like this. And I'll replace that top stitching. So that's gonna look pretty good. So I'm going to pound this with a hammer on a carpet-covered concrete surface and try to get that flatter. This is what I do, like this, but not here. So I'll be back. There, I can't tell you exactly what it does other than it crushes those fibers, makes it a whole lot flatter. Look at how it's laying now as compared to how it was before. It's not fighting against me so much. So if you have trouble with thick seams and you've got a hammer handy, I highly recommend doing that to seams like this. Just make sure that the surface you have underneath it can take the whacking of a hammer. Do the same for this one here. Okay, we've made it all the way around. Now I'm going to turn it right side out and we're going to top stitch. We can see exactly where to top stitch in that little area there where the top stitching was before. It's almost like stitching in the ditch here, but not quite, just a little off to the side. So apparently I didn't push record when I was putting the top stitching in these jeans, so I'm sorry. I'm gonna simulate for you what I did. I don't have any thread in my noodle right now. And you see I already have the top stitching right here. This is that dark blue line where you could see the needle stitches where the top stitching was before. So what I did was I positioned my needle right there, and then I was very, very careful to make sure that my needle did not fall into this little ditch here. I stayed just to the right of it, stitching on top of those little needle holes that were left by the original hem that I took out. So this is how I did it, all the way around, being very careful when I came to those really thick seams. All right, so just like that, all the way around. I hope you forgive me that I didn't have the actual footage, but you get the idea. All right, all the way around. Would you look at that? Our finished leg right here on the left, and the one pinned up that we haven't done yet, and you can see they're the same length. Let's look at that close. What a great finish that is. It looks great. From a distance, you definitely can't tell. Even close up, it's hard to tell. This is a good one to have under your belt. So now all that there is to do is to finish the one leg that I haven't finished. Here's the finished one. This is a really good one to keep in the memory banks. It's really quite a nice finish. Thank you for liking, for subscribing. What's that? What'd you say? Oh, this? Oh, that's nothing. Oh, this is just a little gift that the YouTube Partner Perks Perks sent me. Not a big deal. So I'm not cool enough to have one of those silver play buttons that a lot of big YouTubers have just kind of non-conspicuously hanging out in the background of their videos, but I was cool enough to be recognized by YouTube and be able to receive one of these cool little clapboards. So you may or you may not see it sitting somewhere around here, or maybe you'll hear me overusing it. Anyway, thank you YouTube, and thank you YouTube Partner Perks. This was actually just fun. I never thought it would come through. I want to thank my mom and my dad, my husband, my children, my producer. Wait, that's me. My sewing machine, my camera, my needles in my thread, my subscribers, and those people who put up with me. And for YouTube, thank you. Cut. If you enjoyed this video, you might enjoy watching the one that appears on your screen over here. And I want to encourage you to keep on sewing. See you next time. Bye. I should have blown a kiss, right? I should have blown a kiss.